So I am happy to introduce two college staff that are here today that are going to introduce you to our new college website. We have Julie Wells and James Shepard. So over to you guys.
Hi, folks. So as Peggy was saying, I'm James Shepard. I wanted to start off with, before we get into the actual website itself and the details and layout of it, I just wanted to kind of preference this with giving you a little bit of background information with respect to the new communication strategy that we're using here at the college. So I'm relatively, I guess, new to the position here. It's been just a little bit over a couple of years, but we've been working for the past year and a half with respect to essentially overhauling doing a complete overhaul on the communication strategy going forward that'll lead us into, say, the next 10 years. So the communication strategy as it stands right now is twofold. It's directed, obviously, to the public, ensuring that obviously our mandate as a regulatory organization is public protection. So our goal with respect to the public communication strategy is to raise awareness around what is regulation and the benefits of it. But there are definitely aspects of this that are related to registrant affairs. So that will be directly impacting RNs and MPs. So part of a crucial component of the communication strategy with respect to RNs and MPs would be a complete overhaul of the previous website. Now we have a much more, as you can see on the screen there, a much more modern and updated interface, which enables RNs and MPs to search and find the information that they need in order to practice. So we'll go into a little bit more of the communications aspects probably a little bit later on, because there are a couple of more initiatives that I'd like to be able to discuss. But before I toss it over to Julie, who's going to kind of give you guys a overview with respect to where things are on the website and the functionality of it, I wanted to first address the fact that obviously if you were familiar with the previous site, you might end up being a little bit, or you might have been a little bit taken aback by the fact that the new website was created completely in what we call dark mode. I wanted to kind of give everyone just a little bit of a background of why we went this route. This is the design to the website. In dark mode is something that you may have noticed that other platforms such as Twitter and even the Outlook and some of the Microsoft interfaces as well have also switched from light to dark mode. The reasons for it, just some of the reasons for it, are that it reduces eye strain, and that of course eases the visual ergonomics. It decreases blue light exposure. It increases focus on behalf of the user. And of course, because most of our information right now that we get via websites is through either mobile devices or tablets or iPads or whatnot, it actually improves the battery life on devices with OLED screens. So if there was, again, any kind of question as to why we went the direction that we did, it is definitely, I believe, the way that most websites are going to be going in the future, and the pros definitely outweigh the cons. So with that being said, I'm going to now pass over to Julie Wells, who will kind of give you a little bit of a rundown of where things are with the website.
Thanks, James. So we're sharing our screen, and hopefully you can all see the website. As you can see there, if you haven't already been on it, it is dark. As James said, it has the dark mode. So I'll just run over some features, and then I'll go through some of the menu items. There was a significant reorganization of content. On the old site, it was done more in user categories. So we had public and members and students, and the new site is reorganized into almost departmental. So practice is there, registration is there, complaints and conduct is there, communications is there. Those are our major departments. So on the top of the homepage here, you'll see the member search. Another little feature, I don't know if you could see it there, but that little dot sort of pops up. So, and if you go to a button, it changes color. I just also, we should point out that this is the desktop version because we are on the desktop, so things will still highlight the same way on a mobile version, but the menus might display a little differently if you're looking at on your phone versus on a widescreen desktop like we have right here. But you'll still see some of these features like the highlighting. So on our, the member search is the same as it was on the old site. This is where you would go if you wanted to see who has an emergency license or a nurse practitioner who is authorized to prescribe Suboxone or methadone. Those lists are both right here. And we also have the regular search. So you can search for a registrant. Find, and then I search for Lynn Power and her registration information shows up there. You can also show all registered nurses on this page. Still searching for Lynn and find, or you can toggle that button right there and show only the nurse practitioners. Nurse practitioners have extra information because they have dual licensure, RN and NP, and they also display their employment information. Another quick feature, and this is available on most websites, but if you want to get back to the home page, you can just click on the logo in the top left corner. Contact is where you get our contact information, our office hours, our address, and all of our personnel. So one of the ways that we reorganize some of the content is we use these accordions. So it's not a giant list. You can look and see who the staff are in the PCR department, who's in policy and practice. So you just click on the title there to get the contact information underneath it. And my CRNNL is here. That's the same as it was on the old site. That's the site where you go and do your registration renewal and where you will vote in the council election when renewal opens in January. And CCP will go there. So there are actually 3 ways to do a search on this site. The member search is one. Member search is also available here on the left-hand side where you could just type in a name or a registration number and search right from that page. It will take you back to the member search page and show you the member registration information. This magnifying glass is the general site search. So you could search for standards of practice. That's not where I clicked. Standards of practice. Click the magnifying glass to search, and it will display, organize the results by resources. So resources are our documents. For pages, so pages that mention the standards of practice will show up there. There's 35 of those. Articles are news items. And there are events. We have no events that currently are about the standards of practice. If we did, it would show up right here. Page. The next section is what's trending. That was like our news and highlights on the old site. This is where you will go to see news and other highlights. One thing that I will highlight today is our opportunity for input on the scope of practice. So we posted a consultation about a review of the scope of practice document. And a new feature on this website is we've actually built the questions right into the news item. So you can respond to provide your feedback on the document right from the homepage. There's newsletter is another category there. That's where we have the Regulation Matters e-newsletter available as a PDF. And news items. Registrant information will go there. If we post a new document, when Renewal opens, there'll be messages, put in what's trending. Excuse me. At the bottom of the page is where we have our events, and you can see then the color changes as you highlight over them. So that's today's event. You click on it to register. We also have some external events, and you can see the difference there. They say college event if they're ours, external event if they're not. It currently only shows the first 3, but you can click on the button there to say view all events, and you will see all of the upcoming events, which are still only 3 because it only goes to the end of December. But when the new ones are posted in January, you'll be able to click on all events and see all of the ones for the upcoming sessions. So our main menu is in this stylized, they call it a hamburger because it's got the 3 horizontal lines there. If you click on that, it will show you what the categories are. So there's about, I'll just click on that first. And it's what you would expect in the about section. What is the College of Nurses, registered nurses, information about our council and our upcoming council election. You can see we added a new page yesterday for Meet the Candidates. So you can see who will be running for election, and you can vote for them in January. So we have our advanced practice. I'll just skim through that really quickly. And our practice counselors, 2 people running in for practice. Information about our annual general meetings. I will also point out that in the menus here on the left, the menu item itself is clickable, even if it does have a little plus. The little plus means there are sub-pages underneath it. So if you click on annual general meetings, it will expand the sub-menus, but you will also see the page for the current annual general meeting, where we have the materials from the meeting we had in June, and we actually have a recording of that WebEx section that we had of that meeting. And about, we also have some resources. That's where we have information about the legislation and bylaws. Our stats and member and public surveys are posted there. We have a Get Involved section that was carried over from the previous site. So it's opportunities for registered nurses and nurse practitioners to get involved. We have some information about if a member of the public wants to get, how they can get involved with us. And then some information about nursing students who want to get involved with us. And the final section in About is partners. If you remember from the old website, there was a banner on the bottom with rotating images. So we've moved that into the partner section. So if you want to see information about CCR&R or CMPS, we're partnering with the Health Accord, NCSBN, the Center for Health Information, the Trust, that's where you would go if you want to apply for a scholarship or a bursary, NNAS, which is the National Nursing Assessment Service for registration for internationally educated nurses, Quality of Care NL, we partner with them for practice information for nurse practitioners. TD, Malash Monix is our affinity program, and CNA. So that's where all of our partners have moved because they're no longer at the bottom of the of your page. So for complaints and conduct, this is our professional conduct review section. Under complaints is information about the complaints process, how to submit a complaint, including a link to the PDF fillable complaint form. Information about our new complaints facilitator, which is an initiative. I'm looking at James because I can't remember exactly the date, but it's fairly recent that we have someone who will assist with a member of the public who might have literacy issues to fill out the complaint form to submit a complaint. Under complaints, we also have the actual discipline section, which has the upcoming disciplinary hearings and the findings from the discipline. So the finding outcomes of a hearing, an allegation that is resolved by the director of PCR through the ADR, alternative dispute resolution process, Any cautions or counsels that are issued by the Complaints Authorization Committee, or if an allegation is received but it's dismissed. So those are summaries for those bottom three categories there. But this is where you would see, and it's the same information that was posted on the old site, just reorganized slightly for the discipline information. Under conduct, that's where you would find information about duty to report and our quality assurance program, which is a process to address an issue or concern that's submitted as a complaint, but doesn't necessarily meet the definition of conduct deserving of sanction. So you can read about the QA quality assurance program to get more details about how we would resolve those issues. Registration and renewal is next. It is probably the most like the previous section. Brad Walsh, who's our manager of registration services, did do some rewriting of some of the sections to make it a little clearer, but the organization is pretty much as it was on the old site. So all of the registration information, how to register initially if you're a new grad, if you're an applicant from another Canadian jurisdiction, if you're an internationally educated nurse, a nurse practitioner. Then we have a page with all of the registration forms are collected all in the same place. So that's if you need to do a verification, if you want to, a student, a graduate nurse who needs to complete an interim license 2 application, all of these are found on the registration forms page. There's renewal, which is coming up in January, the annual process to renew a practicing license or a non-practicing membership. And the frequently asked questions that is updated every year when it's renewal time. Re-entry is a new section, and that's the process if you have run out of practice hours and need to complete a re-entry program as a registered nurse or a nurse practitioner. The requirements are listed in the re-entry section. Emergency license is next, and that is the COVID emergency license. So information about the process, the requirements, and a link to the application form are all found on this page. And also information about how to renew your emergency license if you already have one. Examinations is all about the registered nurse exam, which is the NCLEX. And the nurse practitioner exam, there are 3, one for family all ages, one for pediatrics, and one for the adult category of NPs. So there's information about the requirements for those 3 exams in that section. I'm going kind of quickly here, but services and fees. Information like pre-authorized payment plan if you want to have pre-authorized withdrawal from your bank account to pay for your annual licensure, which is a program that we offer. Information about that is found there. The fees are your licensure fees, non-practicing membership, lapsed member fees, application fees, all of those are found on the fees section. And then what are my license fees? How are my license fees used? Is just, again, it divides up based on what's in our operating budget to let you know how your individual fees are spent. I'm just going to briefly touch on practice. We do have both Peggy and Michelle here in the room with us, who are our practice consultants. There was a significant reorganization of the practice information. You might have been familiar with the document library from the old site, which didn't really make it over to the new site in its old format. What we did do is for the practice resources, we have a section called practice topics where we have pulled together any documents, archived teleconferences, or links to secondary resources all related to a particular topic. So for example, if you're looking for information on cannabis, there's a brief description of what the issue is. There's links to the 2 documents we have on cannabis, a link to the education session that we did, and then secondary resources such as the Cannabis Act and regulations all in one place. So there are a dozen or so, I don't know the number off the top of my head, practice topics. They're mostly organized around individual documents, but some of them like cannabis. Professionalism is another example where we have 3 documents related to professionalism. So they're all found under the professionalism practice topic, again, with the education session, and the secondary resource there is the CMPS info. So that was a significant amount of work on practice to reorganize that. And we're hoping that it'll make it easier if you are looking, if you have concerns about professionalism or you want to learn more about professionalism, to have all of the information located in a single place. Another new section that we have is trending topics, which is regulatory topics that we're working on. So there's all of the information around what we did related to the COVID-19 pandemic is there. Again, documents and education sessions and secondary resources organized the same way as the practice topics are. Information about the NP regulation project that the Canadian Council of Registered Nurse Regulators is working on. Michelle is our contact for that. And RN prescribing, which is another big project, and Peggy is our main contact for that one. So the information about what we're doing related to RN prescribing can be found there. Education and events is next. That is where all of our archived education sessions are now located here. You can see they're done, laid out the same, similar as the previous. They're just there on a list, but we have added a search feature. So if I wanted to look for the education session on CCP, I could just search for it right there. Click on that page link. There's the YouTube recording is embedded there, and then there's a brief description about the education session right there on the page. The other section under education in practice is the regulation challenges, and those are the little quizzes that we send out in the e-newsletter, Regulation Matters.
And these quizzes can be used for your CCP as well. So I encourage you to complete those.
And also can be used for your CCP is to participate in the feedback on the practice consultation up for the scope of practice document. If you're looking for CCP hours. Also in this section is the workplace representatives, which is a program that's been here as long as I've been here. So that's just information about the program. There's a list of who are the current workplace representatives. And if you're interested in being a workplace rep, there's a volunteer form that you can fill out. Also in the practice section, we have some information about consultation, where you can complete a form to request a presentation by our practice consultants. So that submits by, it comes into our email, and then they will follow up with you about if that you want them to go, if you're an educator and you want them to go to a class, or if you want them to come to your workplace to address a particular issue or present on a document. Next in the practice section is continuing competency program. This is the current program. You may have seen some information in the College Connection magazine, letting you know that there are significant changes coming to the CCP program. Because we are still using the current one, the information that is on the website is for the current program. So when the new program launches or is about to launch, that information will be updated appropriately. So this is where you'll find out your frequently asked questions about CCP, and there's also a link there for the forms that you need to complete. And there's a section about the CCP audit, which goes over the process and has the frequently asked questions. And the audit will be in the spring of 2022, and it will be on the current program. So that's everything that's in practice. The next section is education approval, because the college has the responsibility to approve programs for entry to practice. So there is a section there that describes the approval process and a link to the approval framework document. And also this is where you would find the entry-level competencies for registered nurses and nurse practitioners. And also a list of the approved programs, so both BN and the NP entry-level entry to practice programs. Our latest is where our news, events, and communications information is found. So communications will be our Regulation Matters e-newsletter, the College Connection magazine, and archived versions of our annual report are all found there. News is news. It's our latest news. Again, there's our opportunity for input on the scope of practice document can be found there. And you can also scroll through archive news and news releases. And events is the same page that it takes you to from the home page if you click on view all events at the bottom of the page. Our next section is our resource center. And this is probably the most like our document library that was on the previous page, previous site, sorry. You can search it. This is a new feature that wasn't available on the previous document library. So you can search for standard and there the standards of practice show up. And this is all just documents. We have categorized the documents in a similar way that we did with the previous site, but we've expanded the number of categories. So for example, if you only wanted to see documents related to the continuing competency program, you can just click on that category and all of those documents are there. Similarly, if you only want to see the forms, so if you want to sign up for or cancel your pre-authorized payment, if you want to sign up for or complete an application for the competency validation program for nurse practitioners, all of those forms are here. You can also get the CCP forms here. And then our practice documents. So the standards, practice guidelines, and practice support documents are the three categories of practice documents. We do have 3 links to external sites in the resource center. One is the CNA Code of Ethics. The other is the RN Act and the RN regulations. Everything else in the resource center is a document that we have produced. Registration fact sheets are there under registration. So those are all the requirements for registration, licensure conditions as an example. You'll notice that the documents are in new templates, but the content is the same. So the cover and the inside pages will be formatted differently, but unless it has a new date on it, it is still the old content. So the standards look different, but they're the same standards as last year. Yeah. And that's pretty much it for the main section there. The only other sections in the menu are the member search and the contact, which are on the home page, and we've already discussed those. The only other section on the home page is in the footer, which has the menu items, and it has links to our social media, which is a good place to end so that James can tell you a little bit about our new social media platforms.
That's a nice segue, yeah. So for those online right now that are just kind of, I guess, getting introduced to our website, you might not be aware, but I would definitely encourage you to check out our new social media channels. So what we've established over the last little while is we had Twitter previously, we still have Twitter, YouTube, and we also have our new Facebook page and Instagram page. Obviously, the Facebook page will be the page that we will kind of be using as the centerpiece of the outreach that we'll be doing. So, and again, I wanted to kind of go back to what I had said before with respect to new initiatives that we're making. Obviously, as Jules had mentioned, with respect to the website, I mean, our intent and our objective with being involved with the design of the website and also with the new social media platforms has been to make it easier for RNs and MPs. So we want to be able to just make sure that it's easier for you guys to be able to get the information that it is that you need to get from us, but also as a way of being able to be kept up to date on regulatory affairs that are coming from the college. So just, I guess, to end off, the embracing of social media, especially as a method of communicating with our incident piece, certainly long overdue. It definitely will be, along with the website and email, our primary medium of communicating with registrants going forward. So I guess that if there's nothing else from you folks, that we'll definitely end up opening up to any questions that anyone might have. And if you do have questions after the fact, by all means, please feel free to reach out to me if it's with respect to communications. And yeah, that's about it.
I did have one thing to add, and that, again, going back to the fact that was a significant reorganization of the content. If you're trying to search for something, it'll get better over time, but we've noticed that if you're searching on using a regular search engine like Google or Bing, sometimes it does still include links to the old site.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, that should get better over time as Google learns more about and Bing learns more about our current site. But we found that it's actually better to search on the site itself using the resource center or using the search feature to find our documents rather than using Google at this point.
Yep.
I just wanted to share that.
Yep.
And I'd just like to add that, if you have any trouble finding anything on the website, you can certainly pick up your phone and call Peggy and I, or, contact one of the CRNNL staff to assist you to find what you're looking for.